You know what? I think because of being in Los Angeles and there's such a big influx of bands and there's thousands of bands here, and just trying to make your own sound and trying to be like as original as possible. So I remember doing the first Civerous album, and I had been doing this already for years and years, and coming to do the second one, I had a really hard time with patterns and trying to like really push myself out of my comfort zone and try to be completely like original. And instead of making vocal patterns, I wanted to make like a song. I think that was hard. I like really had to like kick in and sit with the engineer and be like, okay, instead of doing it like this, do it like this. But Derek came and he was giving me little tricks. He was like, when you say this word, it's like, it might be one syllable, break it up into two, or around the section like that. Like really stretch your voice and like really try to do something different just to make the song catchy so it stays in people's heads.
Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Telemedia and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians, talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. This Vox and Hops episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal are Montreal's premier metal promoter, and trust me when I say this to you, if you are ever in Montreal and you would like to go see an amazing metal show, well, I can definitely guarantee you that Heavy Montreal will have you covered. I'm beyond stoked to have Heavy Montreal behind the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. There are a bunch of amazing things that are happening right now in the world of Cryptopsy, and the first thing that I want to tell you about is that Cryptopsy has a brand new record coming. That's right, we are dropping a brand new record on June 20th via Seasons of Mist. The record is called An Insatiable Violence, and you can go and listen to the first single now, Until There's Nothing Left. It dropped back on April 15th, and I am beyond stoked. But more than that, Cryptopsy is coming back to Europe on the Infernal Bloodshed Over Europe tour. We are coming back with Decapitated, Warbringer, and Carnation. This tour has been put together by Avocado Booking, and we are goddamn so stoked to be back. This tour kicks off on May 3rd and runs all the way until June 7th. You should grab your tickets and come and party with me and come and celebrate that Cryptopsy has a brand new record coming on June 20th. We are going to be playing some of that on this tour. Come and hang out. It's going to be a blast. Before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I would love for you to tell a friend about the podcast. If there's someone in your life that just loves extreme metal and craft beer, well, you should definitely let them know that the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast exists. If you would encourage one of your metalhead, beer-loving friends to become a brand new Vox and Hops head, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today in the podcast, I'm very stoked to be with Lord Fowl of Civerous. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops episode number 495.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm very stoked with Isaiah Vaca of Civerous. Isaiah, I'm very stoked to be with you. I'm with you because of my very good friend, Jerry Monk, the metal architect who crafts and curates and scours the bowels of every weekly release and creates the Brutal Awakenings playlist. And he was like, Matt, you should have Civerous on the podcast. So here we are. Isaiah, how's it going?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm great. We're gearing up for the Burnt into Pieces run in Latin America, which is kicking off next week. By the time this comes out, it will already be over, and everyone already know how it went. But at this point, I'm excited about it, and I know it's coming up, so I have that eager anticipation before a tour. But it's Vox and Hops, and I'm hanging out with my metal friends talking about their lives and music while sharing beers. What beer do you have on your side tonight, Isaiah, that we're going to be sharing virtually?
Today I have Coors Light. It's my favorite beer.
Hell yes, the Coors Light. You know who loves Coors Light? I'm not sure if you know this or not. My drummer, Flo Mounier, loves Coors Light. It is his drink of choice, and he has a few times. Sometimes when hypothetically fans or Vox and Hops heads or other musicians don't bring me enough beer, or I don't plan enough well ahead, or hypothetically on the bus, other musicians that I'm traveling with drink all my beers because I try to be responsible and go to bed. Then I wake up the next morning and there's none left. And then the following night I don't replenish my stocks thinking that there's still some left. I end up with a Coors Light in my hand, and then Flo Mounier likes to take pictures of me and make fun of me. So what is it about the Coors that you enjoy so much?
You know what? There was a phase that I went through in my 20s where I only drank craft beer. Mm-hmm. around maybe like 28, my son was born, and I got into my whole light beer phase.
Yeah, because it hurts. It hurts. It hurts financially, and the ABV is much higher in craft beer. They tend to clock in around 6.5%, which is a whole 2% more than a Coors Light. So every 3 you have, it's an extra many beers, whatever the math of that is. But whenever it does so happen on the opposite effect, where Flo doesn't plan ahead and get enough Coors, and he starts digging into my craft beers, I'm always like, hey, check the ABV, buddy, because you're used to Coors Light at 4.5, and I've seen how many you've had. It's going to be a hell of a night if you keep it up, because that does happen. It is far more expensive.
Absolutely.
My side, I'm drinking something newish here that dropped over here in Quebec. It's a collab between two friends of mine, basically two awesome breweries here in Quebec. The bigger brewery of this is Boréale. Boréale are probably Quebec's biggest microbrewery. They're probably a macro brewery at this point, but they still make nice craft beers under the episode series. They drop about 2 of them per month that get distributed across the province of Quebec in grocery stores and stuff. So it's super interesting, exciting to always get reasonably priced versus other craft beer. That is always high quality and price to quality. This is a collab with another brewery that I love called Jackalhop. Shout out to Max. Awesome metal brewer. Very cool kid that is making really interesting beer from Jackalhop. I've gone to see a bunch of shows with him here in Montreal. He's awesome. And he comes out to Cryptopsy shows when we play in Quebec City because he lives just outside of that. This is a New England Rice IPA. So it's a New England IPA that is the base of it is primarily rice. I'm going to crack into this. I'd love to hear about you going back, Isaiah. Tell me about your very, very first beer. Do you remember the first beer that you ever drank?
Yes, I actually do. And it's funny that you asked that because here in America, the drinking age is 21.
Which is crazy to me. Us, it's 18 legally, but we all know what happens. Yeah.
Exactly. So my first beer was at 18. Cheers. And believe it or not, it was actually a Coors Light.
There you go.
One of my friends, actually, he was 21 and he had we were just hanging out at my house one day. He's like, hey, man, you want to drink beer? I was like, sure. And he brought a pack and we drank that and the rest has been history. Haven't stopped since then.
What is it? And I don't think I've ever talked about this on podcasts because there's some legalities. What I'm curious about at this point. Since it's 21, you guys can't go buy it. You can't go into bars, but basically you're adults and you guys all sort of end up drinking it. How often do they card when you go and buy at that age? Because you do look like an adult at that point, like most people. Yeah. I didn't because I always had a baby face, but still.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy like a lotto ticket. You could at that time you were able to buy a pack of cigarettes when you were 18. They like card pretty often, and I mean, like at least in the like state of California, it's like pretty strict. But there's like ways around it. There's people that there's like stores you could go to. It was funny because that pack of the first beer that I had was purchased from this mom and pop store that was known around the land.
they were lax.
Oh yeah, they were so brave to do that. You would ask them to take photos, and they would take Polaroid photos, and there was thousands of pictures all over this store's walls and ceiling of underage kids with beers in their hand. For years and years, and they eventually closed down. But yeah,
they knew where their market was.
Exactly,
they had a niche. They had a niche, and they figured it out. Underage drinking. It's like that Nathan. What's that Nathan show where he says, "I'll sell you beer." And he sells it to these kids, and then he holds it on. He does a whole photo shoot in the back too, so you can post with your on socials with your beer that you bought. But then he holds on to it in a vault until you're of legal age, and then you can get it. But he sold it to you nonetheless. Nathan does best. Nathan knows best. I can't remember. He's funny as fuck. He's a Canadian dude that makes all these TV shows. Very funny. You got into craft beer. How did that evolve? You started at 18, drinking Coors Light, and then you evolve into craft beer in your 20s. What's that story? You're from California. There's a lot of good beer there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked at a grocery store, and the area that I worked was a very like hipster, like nice part of town. And there was lots of little cool beer shops and craft breweries and all that. And it started off with like Stone and Sierra Nevada, and then from there it just splintered off into, you know, like this guy like makes his beer in his house. He's doing it for just this season, or hey, like this company that they just popped up, they have this and that. And, you know, I was like pretty into it. I was going back and forth trying all these things. But yeah, it was, you know, it was a good time. It was a good time. It was fun. I was able to drink 4 beers and be good the rest of the night.
Hell yes, exactly, because the ABVs are so much higher. I went to San Diego back in the fall because we flew in there for the Carnifex run, and there's a Stone Brewing in the airport, and that was so goddamn cool. It was closed most time I was there, but I was like, this is cool. I wish there was there is a craft beer brewery in the Montreal airport, but it's owned by Labatt. It's not a real craft brewery. It's one of those, they have like these fake subdivisions of big beer companies that make pseudo craft beer. I would love for like a MTL or a Boréale to end up opening a little pub or something at Montreal Trudeau Airport. That'd be sick.
Yeah. So actually in San Diego is the actual Stone headquarters, where they have their own brewery there, their own restaurant. It's fucking delicious. They sell growlers. You could go and you could buy your big growler glass, and they like refill it. You come home, you take it back, and they'll do it for you.
They're one of the precursors of craft beer breweries, for sure. One of the pinnacle breweries. So I'm not surprised they're still doing cool things such as setting up a brew pub in the airport. Just imagine how much you guys can charge for your beers at the airport. Come on. Already you're beating us in the stores. Beat us at the airport some more. We'll do it because we're trapped and we want a good product. What was your style of beer that you gravitated towards when you were a craft beer enthusiast before the children made you wake up with the screaming?
It was usually IPAs and double IPAs. So my first introduction to those were the Torpedo by Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, I've crushed a bunch of those. Yeah.
I love those. Like, I still to this day, like in the like colder seasons, I'll like grab those, or around Christmas time, they would make the like red can. What was the name? Celebration IPA. I think it's called. It's some type of IPA, but it's like that brand itself really got me into the deeper, more like obscure craft.
the hoppy side of things.
Really hoppy stuff. Absolutely. And you know, I can understand how some people might think it's a little bit too bitter, or it doesn't taste well, but I mean, like my dad said when I was a kid, you know, it's a fucking acquired taste, man.
Much like death metal.
Exactly.
Sierra Nevada is one of the pinnacle I keep saying those words. One of the most important breweries in my craft beer history, because it was the first time I tasted hops was just the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I've said it a few times on the podcast, probably too many times, but Playing the Masquerade, Summer Slaughter 2008, went to a store around the corner and picked up some Blue Moon and the Pale Ale because Donaldson told me that Lord Worm said this shit was good. And this is a true story. And I got the bug for the soapy, weird, bitter, tongue-scraping IBU.
So, fun fact, Summer Slaughter 2008, I went to that. That was my first show that I saw you perform.
I'm sorry. We tried.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to me.
No, I'm just being self-deprecating.
Okay. That area is where I ended up working later on, and where I found all that craft beer.
Really? Stuff. I remember that show. We played the Soma. Am I crazy?
No, Soma was San Diego. You played at the House of Blues, which is now gone.
That was a sick show. I remember that. Awesome. It was right on the Strip.
Yes, exactly.
It was super sick. I remember that show. I remember being there and being like, and we had to go do some radio thing. I'd never gone on the radio before that day. I had like a real radio station. It was quite. Then I like walked down the Strip, and I like was standing near like the Viper Room on a payphone calling my other band at the time, 3 Mile Scream, and being, hey, what's up? Like, probably being a dick. Hey, what's up? Yeah, you know, I'm just on the Strip here. Probably, I just wanted to say hi. You know, that's probably what I did, which is not nice. I'm sorry, Kyle. But I do remember that show. That's crazy. And I was scrolling through our chat today, and I saw the pictures of us, and I was like, oh shit, at Summer Slaughter. I was wondering exactly where it was. So that's crazy. That was a crazy show. Yeah.
Awesome show.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember that. That's when Alice with Century Media came in. They gave us like a box of like promo stuff, and I got like Whitechapel, like it just ended up in the RV that we were traveling in, and they're like, who wants this? And I was like, I'll take Whitechapel, I guess. And I took it home, and oh no, it was Suicide Silence too. Yeah. It's crazy. Sorry. Just memories coming back to me from that one day. What a crazy tour that was. Talk to me about your first shows. Do you remember going to see your first music show, your first experience to seeing a live music experience?
Absolutely. So I was around 14 or 15, and my current bandmate, Daniel, who plays guitar, we're best friends. We've been friends
since that long? That's sick.
Oh, we've been friends since I think we're 5 or 6 years old.
Really? Where did you guys meet?
My mom owns a dance studio.
Nice.
So we used to dance together when we were kids.
Like classical dance, jazz, hip hop,
ballet and stuff. Yeah, we used to do, and like folk dancing. We're into that. But we were the two weird kids. We're like already good friends, but we were the two weird kids that like metal. And there was like a little small venue here called Chain Reaction. I'm sure you know of it.
It's before my touring time, I imagine. Okay.
Yeah. So he took me to Chain Reaction, and we saw the Faceless, Beneath the Massacre, and I think like a Brother in Black. And that was my first show. And I remember walking into this venue that was probably a cap of 200 people, stuffed wall to wall. And at that age, you see all these people, and you're, oh man, it's so vast. There's 1,000 people in here. And I remember seeing all these guys like come in a van and hop out with the little tour laminates and go and do all this stuff. And I remember seeing that at that age. And I know some kids want to be like football players and sports like players when they grow up. I remember seeing that, and I was like, that's what I want to do when I get older. And I have not stopped since then.
Hell yeah. So that was the trigger moment. Were you playing music at that point already?
No, I was just like listening to it, and then I think maybe the like following year or two, I started doing it with my friends, little bands here and there.
What was first? What did you pick up? What did you gravitate towards, like music wise, like instrument wise?
I've always been like a vocalist, dude. I like know how to play drums, but I've always been a vocalist. It's the first person that like made me want to sing was actually Lord Worm.
Really? You are called Lord Fowl on Instagram,
Lord
right?
Fowl. It's a little like homage to him.
I was wondering.
Yeah, and then after that, it was Derek from the Faceless, who like
fantastic vocalist.
Yeah, and it was weird because we have a full circle moment, and now we're actually really good friends. And he like did like a track on our last album that just came out last year. Full circle moment. So yeah, I mean, it was I always wanted to be a vocalist, and yeah, I just haven't stopped doing my craft for years and years. It's going on over 15 years, almost 20 years now. So it's nice.
Fantastic. What was that first song or that experience? You get into that room, you're with your friends. Daniel's there, I'm assuming, and you're holding the mic. What was that first song? Like, was it an original first, or was it a cover? What was that?
It was completely like original song, but I remember being in there and recording the demo on our little like crappy laptop on a little USB mic. And I was so embarrassed and so nervous because everyone's sitting in the room with the lights on watching me. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Turn off the lights or leave. Yeah.
I go get out of the room.
I'll show you after. Yeah.
Exactly. I just remember being really like embarrassed doing it in front of people and very nervous. And then after a while, it just became second nature as I gotten better and better with it. You know what I mean?
There's still moments when I'm tracking that I'd rather just be with Chris, because I always track with Chris mostly. It's such a nice, more like intimate. We're very, very like vulnerable when recording vocals, especially trying, let's say, something new, something that you're trying to like add a little bit more of like a flair or pizzazz to your standard formula. When Chris is like, try something different, I'm always happy that it's just me and him in case it comes out all freaky weird, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, same with me. When I record the albums now, I like to either have me and my friend who's the engineer, or me and one person from the band. I don't want everyone there.
Too many cooks is annoying too.
Oh yeah, it gets too distracting, or there's too many people chiming in this or that. Like, you guys play the instruments, I do this, let me do my thing.
What has been some of the biggest challenges vocally? For myself, obviously, it was becoming a death metal vocalist and trying to craft my own path while honoring the legacy of Cryptopsy's multiple eras. What was some of the biggest challenges for you discovering your voice?
You know what? I think because of being in Los Angeles and there's such a big influx of bands and I mean, there's thousands of bands here, and just trying to make your own sound and trying to be like as original as possible. So I remember doing the first Civerous album, and I had been doing this already for years and years, and coming to do the second one, I had a really hard time with patterns and trying to like really push myself out of my comfort zone and try to be completely like original. And instead of making vocal patterns, I wanted to make like a song, if that makes
you know what I mean? Totally, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was hard. I like really had to like kick in and sit with the engineer and be like, okay, instead of doing it like this, do it like this. But Derek came and he was giving me little tricks. He was like, when you say this word, it's like it might be one syllable, break it up into two, or flip around the section like that. Like really stretch your voice and like really try to do something different just to make the song catchy so it stays in people's heads.
Yes, and it gives it a bit more like humanistic and your personality stamp on a particular performance.
Yeah, it's like super hard to do. So like people think that we just go in there and make funny noise, which we do.
Most of the time, yeah.
and make funny dumb noises, but it's when you really like when you have a passion for it, which I'm sure you do, and I know I do. You just want to push yourself every time that you like do something new, and you just want to be better. And you
it
want
has to be. There's no point in going into the studio and making the same record over and over again.
Exactly. You just
Cannibal Corpse or AC/DC.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the two. Those are the two that are allowed. We're not there yet. Something that Chris really worked on me on this new record, because we just finished in December. I wrapped up vocals. Was putting the accentuation on a particular syllable in each word. Like every word has a more enjoyably sounding syllable that deserves the accent while you're pronouncing it, was something that I don't think about, and he records a bunch of people, so he does this all the time and listens to people all the time, and he's extremely picky about everything because he's wonderful that way. But it brings out the best in all of us. We say we love him. Thank you, Chris. But that was eye opening for this experience for me. Like really, like existence. It's not existence. It's existence has this. Should have the emphasis on it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and that like really goes more into songwriting than just like tracking, like I said earlier. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's crafting a song, and it's something that comes with years of experience.
Exactly.
Talk to me about making death metal in the 2020s. I think that's interesting. Why are you still making death metal? Why? You've been doing it for 15 years. You said that. I am seeing this like massive resurgence. I've been in cryptopsy for many, many, many years now. It was popular at the whole time, not the band, I'm saying the genre of death metal, but it's extremely popular now, and there's a lot of stuff just blowing up. There was, right when I joined the band, deathcore was huge. It sort of petered off. Deathcore is massive now, and the same sort of thing is happening with death metal. It's very exciting. So talked about making death metal exciting, making it cool, making it your own into the 2020s when there's 1,000,000 bands out there, and you guys are still doing it yourselves.
Yeah, it's just, like you said, there was some really big like resurgence out of nowhere around 2016. And I would say like a lot of it popped off after like Blood Incantation with their demos.
Yeah.
Those guys really brought back the like old school aesthetic.
True.
And
that's true.
Like a lot of tons. And like a lot of bands that weren't as popular in the old era got really popular again. And just, I'm telling you, like hundreds of bands in Los Angeles started. So we came in a little later, around 2019, and Daniel and I were always in like black metal bands before, like post black.
Really
metal, like
interesting.
Yeah, we're
sorry, I didn't hear. I'm sorry, you cut off.
We're into like post black metal bands and all that stuff.
You said like a band, which I didn't hear though.
Oh, like Death Heaven and stuff like that. Yeah, Lantlos, Heretic, all like stuff like that. And we were doing that for years, and we're like traveling every now, like little like tours, little West Coast tours.
Because you guys can do that because it's so freaking beautiful out there all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's nice. But we were doing that, and then my like son was born, and Daniel came by the house to come visit. He was only a few days old, and we had been taking a break from our like previous project. And I was like, "Hey, Daniel, do you want to start like a fucking death metal band, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "Okay, well, if we do it, then let's do it at like full like speed, and let's not stop and do it absolutely full time." He's like, "Okay." So we just started there, and we haven't stopped and playing shows during the like pandemic when a lot of those bands died out. We sat down and crafted the first album, and just haven't stopped since then. Touring after that. Yeah, and just we haven't stopped at all since then. We've been overseas now a few times and full tours and all that, and bigger shows are coming and all that stuff. It's nice.
Hell fucking yes. Just keep grinding, keep making death metal dirty and old again, not too clean and polished. And it's true. You're 100% right about it. I always wonder where it came. And blood incantation is a really good point there. There was that, and then Tomb Mold also around the same sort of time. I think that got everyone really excited with dirty productions again.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, there was also, I would even credit blood incantation to, I'm sorry, I would credit my friends. Well, Paul Riddle is from this little collective of people that are from Salem, Oregon, that were doing things DIY. They were called the Burial Grounds. Made a bunch of really cool bands that are so good, like Mizmor, Hell. All these guys, they're from this music collective. And I would say, even going further back, I would credit them in the late 2000s, early 2010s to why there is such a big scene now. Because without those guys, there's BI, and the BI.
Exactly. Yeah. And people getting inspired by these people that.
Waves and waves and waves later, yeah.
So much. What is it about dirty production that excites kids nowadays, or people nowadays?
I think there were just so many years of clean stuff, and like you said, how much bigger deathcore is, and like there's still now like a big divide with the death metal people and the deathcore people, especially the purists. I don't see it, doesn't bother me personally, but anyways, and I think just the people that are into the more death metal and punk stuff want that raw, like real production. I would say, you know what I mean.
Just throw a mic in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
The emotion, you're capturing the emotion, not the pristine take.
Exactly. So and I think a lot of that has to do too with like people being into black metal, because black metal kind of bleeds into all that. The like black metal culture bleeds into all this punk stuff and metal stuff, and it just, I guess, wanting to be like against the grain with everything.
I'm happy deathcore is popping off huge. It's good for us. The Will Ramos, thank you for being popular on TikTok and normalizing extreme vocals, so that young kids can watch this phenomenal vocalist perform these very, very interesting sounds on social media, and then they will get inspired to start making weird sounds themselves, and then they will be freaking ridiculous by the time they're our age, and we will probably be old and dead by then, but I'm still excited to see it and hear it. Talk to me about a dream tour to put Civerous on the perfect bill, unless it's already happened, and then you could just give that a shout out. Is if you could really just hand pick a 3-band bill, because I'm old and I don't want to wait for 4-band bills anymore. 3 bands, so it's yourselves plus 2 other bands. What would be the perfect 2 other bands to put Civerous in front of the perfect audience?
Okay, so if you ask me, if my personal,
because Daniel has a different opinion, I'm guessing.
Exactly, Dan only got different opinions. I would say Spectral Voice and Crips would be the ultimate. And then us would be those 3 bands that all have the similar sound and that are like like real like underground music still, and like really hit that like niche of the stuff that the people that feed off that sound and feed off that scene like. But I mean, if it wasn't those bands, my favorite bands, of course, would be like you guys, Cryptopsy, Cal Decapitation. I like Belphegor. I would love to tour with all bands on
They're
that.
coming.
Like
They're coming. They're coming. There's a tour coming up. They're coming to Montreal. I don't know about California. I think they are.
Yeah, like those are bands I would love to tour with.
That's amazing. We toured with Belphegor back in 2017, and it was an event. People, I have many stories. Were you?
That photo of you and I is from that tour.
Oh, where did we play? Oh, we played that weird place in LA.
Yeah,
it was upstairs somewhere.
Yeah.
There was like a bar area.
It was called Catch One, or now it's called Catch One. It was called something else
The
back then.
Regent, I want to say. Is that crazy?
Something like that.
I think that is it, yeah. Just, okay, cool. That was a good tour. There's so many stories that I will not talk about on the podcast that happened on that tour. But it was fun, and if we ever have a beer face-to-face, Isaiah, I will definitely tell you some of them.
Absolutely.
I was reading, and right before sitting down, the Maze Envy that came out last year, a bunch of praise and, huge like music online publications giving you guys really good praise. Is there pressure for the follow-up? That's you're writing new music, I'm assuming now, because that's what we do as musicians. We're never comfortable. We're always writing something new. It's hard to keep it fun and exciting. We just did it. It was extremely challenging for Christian, I want to say, Chris, to keep writing after we won the Juno, to make something new, something exciting that wasn't just an As Gomorrah Burns Part 2. We wanted to make something new, yet bouncing off the heels of that while honoring the legacy of Cryptopsy. What are you guys doing for the follow-up of Maze Envy?
Yeah, so we are writing right now. There is pressure. I would say more pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 20 bucks spin aren't like on the phone, like, it better be better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that's one of the, I would say that's the best label that we worked with. But anyways, we just remembered the momentum and the speed that we were going when we wrote Maze Envy. And not that we're trying to replicate it or do the same thing, but we're just keeping up that same momentum and that workforce and pace going into the new one could be challenging because, people's jobs change or people's
we're
lives
old and life gets in the way. It's not easy to sacrifice and cut everything out and put it all into a band practice or however you guys write. Exactly.
And then when we wrote Maze Envy, people's lives in the band were much more different. People now have girlfriends or different jobs. And, like you said, life takes up time. So, luckily we have one dedicated day per week that we rehearse and we don't miss no matter what.
That's very important, people.
Oh, yeah.
Take notes right there. If you want to do it, you got to see each other and be together. It's really, really, I think it's credit why Cryptopsy is doing as much and as well as we are right now, is that we're touring so much and we're together so much. So these ideas just keep happening and spiraling. And then you have to follow through with the drunken ideas, people. That's another secret, because if you just let them, there's a bunch of great drunk ideas, but if you don't do them, there's none so cute. Back to you guys.
Yeah. So, no birthdays, no girlfriends. Nothing
on
gets
that
in the
day,
way.
that's it. It's band practice.
Yes, and even all of our girlfriends know, hey, I'm sorry, it's Saturday. Yeah. And
well, Sunday's also a day.
Exactly. And every other day is also a day. But anyway, we stick to that day, and we usually go in around 8:00, and we don't leave until about midnight or 1 in the morning, and we only go in and write and work and write and work, and luckily we all get along.
That is a secret. Yeah. That's not always the case.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, we're all friends in real life, so that helps.
It is huge helpful. Yeah.
But yeah, just there is pressure. I think with ourselves, and yeah, I don't think any band wants to disappoint anyone. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yourselves primarily.
Absolutely. We always write what we want to hear. It's nice that people like it, and we're very grateful for all the people that enjoy the music. But we still write what we would like to hear.
That's sick.
Absolutely.
Future records. You had Derek on the last one. Would you like to have other guests come along, like a guest solo, another guest vocalist? Was it something you enjoyed, or was it something like now you can't play that song live unless Derek's there?
We actually do play that song live. When we do have Derek around, we'll have him come and play it with us, and it's nice. It gets a nice crowd reaction. As for the new record, I think this one, instead of guest people on the record, I want other vocalists to help me. I like to write the lyrics, obviously, and I want to send them out to people that I think are good and stuff, and have their own input on it, and go in there and change stuff, and kind of co-written with someone else. Or last time I had Derek sing on the album. This time I want to have him help me write lyrics on this album. So that's more of what I want to do. As of guest solos, none that I could think of. I think Alonzo and Daniel are pretty particular in how they sound and who they let touch their art. And you know how fucking guitarists get, and so I let them do that part.
They're wonderful. We love them. Everything about them.
Yes. Everyone thinks singers have the egos. It's not us. It's the guitar players, dude.
I load in. I'm a drum tech too. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe this time I would just like help on like input writing lyrics.
That's interesting. Well, what is coming from that? Why would you want that? Just to turn you in a different direction, and to put you on your heels, to do something crazy different.
I would say to get better, because I know how I write. I know what I produce. I know what Drew, the bass player, helps write lyrics. Like, I know how he writes. I want to see how like other people think. And I pick other people's brains. And it's not necessarily stealing their ideas or stealing
No. Especially if it's a co-creation thing and you credit them, there's no problem there at all.
Yeah, and exactly. I'm always learning, and I want to see how other people that do the same thing work, because maybe I could take those, so, some of the things they do and incorporate it into my style. And then from there, just make something bigger or make something better. You know what I mean?
How do you always approach? Do you approach patterns first, or do you approach lyrics first and then drop them into patterns? What has been your experience there? Because I've played with both sides of that throughout my career.
Yeah, so it's funny. I do lyrics first, and I'll like go into practice when the song's being written, and I'll maybe do one bar throughout the entire song in different patterns.
Okay, very cool.
And I do that per each bar until it's time to record.
Okay. Do you record yourself at patterns? Do you record yourself at jam so that you can remember which one worked better?
No, I actually have like a pretty good
memory for that. Lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. So I after months of practicing these songs, weeks, I get somewhat of a idea of what I want. I take it to our engineer, and I'm like, hey man, I have this, I have that. What do you think we should do? He's like, okay, well, do it, and we'll track it. Okay, let's change that. Let's change this. So it's a very collaborative process between me and our engineer. It's the same guy we had for the past 2 years. Our friend Andrew Solis. He's in Nails and Spies You. He's also been friends with me since we were in 6th grade. So it's all.
I'm loving the longevity of this project.
Yeah. He's all his friends and his children.
That's like the guy that does our videos here is a guy that I went to high school with, and we're planning videos now, and he's like, I see you're a caller. I'm like, Kels, it's you. I'm gonna call you. I'm not gonna text you these ideas. It's you. If it was anyone else, I wouldn't call you. And I literally said that to him today. Exactly.
And it's like, like I'm comfortable with him because we're pretty good friends, and he's like, okay, well, let's do this. And
there's no bullshit too. Yeah, he's not gonna placate you just to take your money. He knows you that well.
There was times where I would go in and I would love this. I would love how this part sounded in my head. And he'd be like, that sounds awful. No one's going to like it. I'm like,
yes, okay, thank you. I'm disappointed, but I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. Do it that way. I've had several blow-ups in the studio where he's telling me to do one thing and I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And I get mad and I walk out for 5 minutes. And
you come back and you do it and you're like, God damn it, you're right.
It sounds good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I have no choice with that. Chris is a genius. I'm his vocal puppet, and I make it come out, and then I have to figure out how to do it afterwards, which is the biggest challenge always. I like making beers. I've made 85 beers for the podcast for Cryptopsy. I've made teas. I like making beers and having Cryptopsy or Vox&Hops' logos on them. That is my perfect collab item. What would be the perfect Civerous collab item?
Ooh, that's a good one. Are you talking beer-wise or just item in general?
It could be a beer if that fits your brand. It's definitely my brand. I don't know what is your brand.
I think because we all have pretty vast tastes in beer. So like Alonzo likes hazies. Aiden is really into blondes. I like pilsners. Daniel likes pilsners. I think we would, if we all have to agree, because in like Europe, there was only kind of like one kind of beer.
That's what it is. Yeah, but it's a good, pure, delicious beer. But they're like, why do we need more? This is perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I would say maybe some type of Pilsner would be like a good Civerous beer.
Hell yes. What would you call it? You got to fuck with a song name. Beer Envy. There, yeah, that works. Endless Symmetry, Pilsner Symmetry, the Azure Pilsner. I don't know. I'm just fucking around. But Isaiah, I have one last question. The classic Vox and Hops wrap-up question. It probably doesn't happen to you very often anymore because at 28 years old, you became a father and you stopped drinking abundant amounts of craft beers and you stick to Coors Light now. But every once in a while, it happens to everyone. What is your hangover cure?
So it's not what everyone thinks. I don't do any of the Advils or the aspirins. I do none of that. I drink lots of water and I eat like braised beef and beef, like really heavy beef, greasy meals.
You just have braised beef in the house just at all times, just in case.
When I know, because there's like certain Mexican dishes that are made with braised beef. So, like, when I know that I'm going to be out, there's a truck here or there's a food store there.
Oh,
I'm going there. Yeah.
And you eat it before you go to sleep or you keep it for the next day?
I go the very next morning when I feel awful.
I understand. Okay.
Ready right out.
Amazing. Lots of water. It's super important that. Isaiah, thank you so much for talking about life, talking about music, talking about everything going on with Civerous. It was a true pleasure to hang out with you. Jerry Monk's always right. I always have a good time when he recommends someone, and I'm looking forward to coming back to LA, hopefully soon. I'll tell you more after we stop recording if I am or not this year, because I know where I'm going, but not with people listening. People go check out Maze Envy. You will not regret it. It's a banger.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers. Hey, thank you all so much for listening to me today. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, this was an awesome conversation. I am so stoked that Jerry Monk, once again, the metal architect himself, put me in contact and pushed me towards having a conversation with Lord Fowl of Civerous. What a great chat this was. I'm very excited about what's happening in modern death metal, the modern old school death metal, all these younger bands that are just making crunchy old school style death metal and are being super successful at it, and that's exactly what Civerous are doing. I'm excited for this follow-up record. He's not stressed about the follow-up hype. I've sort of stressed out for him, and I hope that I don't stress him out when he does listen to this. I'm excited for it. Keep crafting and pushing and collaborating with people while writing lyrics to create new patterns. I think that's super interesting, and I'm excited to hear it, and I'm excited to see him again because I've met him a bunch of times over the years, and I myself would love to get a picture with Lord Fowl. The Vox and Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a killer rest of the week. I will be back next week with another episode, but until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.